Hello, this is Ian from Device 42. Thank you for joining me today as we go through a quick overview of power monitoring using Device 42. Now, power units, including PDUs, crack units, UPSs, these will be all discovered by SNMP within Device 42. Now, they can be discovered with the core licensing of Device 42, but the power monitoring and control piece will require the power monitoring license. It'll still be performed through SNMP, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time walking through how to create a SNMP discovery job in general because we've covered that in other videos. But a couple things I do want to point out in regards to power monitoring is that it will be required to use a remote collector, and that's because a power monitoring interval is set up, and that will interrogate the machines every so often at a specified interval by the user for power monitoring data. So you'll select a remote collector here, and then scrolling to the bottom, expand the power and environmental options, select the enable monitoring for discovered PDU devices, and then set your polling interval. And so you can see here it can be pretty broad or pretty granular. I would start with something in the maybe 1 hour range, and then if you find you need a more granular setting than that, you can fine tune it from there and gradually step it down. The other three options here are essentially the naming format of the discovered PDU. So the power unit's name as discovered, the serial number, and the IP or any combination of those. Now, once a PDU has been discovered, what you can do is rack it. You place that rack in a room and then look at the room layout view. You can start to see some of that data just from the room layout view here. So all the colored objects are racks, and the color of the rack itself indicates how much space is available, but these bars here represent information related to how much power is available on an attached PDU. So whether those are banks or infeeds, some of that data will show up here, and you can see a reflection of how much of those are being used currently or during the last power monitoring interval. So again, I can hover over this rack, see the devices that are in this rack, including PDUs, and then if I further hover over any of those, I can see some basic details about it, as well as jump to the record page for a particular PDU. And so I've got that here, and we can see, kind of what you would expect from a device record in Device 42. So PDUs are going to come in as power units rather than just kind of your standard devices. Those power units will have power unit models, much like a device has a hardware model. And so I can see the name, the type, the model, serial number. You can see here it's being monitored in terms of power usage, active and apparent power, and then your standard other metadata, including custom fields, which will be at the bottom, object category tags, things like that. This is where I can start to see some of the related power information. So depending on what the manufacturer offers, what they provide via SNMP, what you see here will look a little different. But again, it can get power monitoring data down to the bank or in-feed level, even the outlet level if it's available, and I can start to see rated power and the current power draw here. And so what I can do then, if I click on power in the upper right hand corner of the context menu here, I can see the latest values at each bank level. So the three different banks rather, the latest value from the last power sampling interval, and then the trending power data as well. So by default, this will show you the average usage over the past 24 hours, but I can change this to maximum usage over the past week as an example, and see what the trending power was like over that time frame. So this information could be helpful from an investigative perspective. Did something go down? Was there an outage? Was there a spike in power? You can come here and see what that looked like, see if there's some kind of investigation that can be helped via the data here. And then of course this information can be exported into a CSV or reported on using Docal. Lastly, I just want to point out you can map devices to ports, and so you can see here I did mention briefly the power control feature. You can turn the power you can turn the ports on, off, or cycle them through Device 42 here. This is one of the few cases where we do need to make a change to the environment, so you'll need a community string that has write permissions as well as read access. But you can map devices to your ports, and then if environmental data is offered by the manufacturer, you can start to see that here as well. So whether that's temperature or humidity, we can see that information here. you can customize some of these features so that if a unit like Celsius is preferred, you can reflect that in the UI here. Well, thank you for joining me in this power monitoring overview offered by Device42. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at support@device42.com, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you.